Thank you for tuning in to Trading Card Therapy, episode number 64. This week, I welcome you as we talk about PSA's wide world of grading. Good afternoon, collectors and friends. Welcome back to Trading Card Therapy, episode number 64, with your host, the Doctor. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I sincerely appreciate it. And for those that are not able to watch our full episodes with both audio and video on our Just Collect YouTube channel, you, of course, can find our weekly podcast, Trading Card Therapy, available wherever you get your favorite podcasts, like on Apple or on Spotify or any of those other fun platforms. We're going to get right into it today. I've recently had a number of cards come back from PSA. And I'm curious, for those collectors out there that are listening, those dealers, those investors, have you, collectors, investors, dealers, been getting any cards back from PSA? And if so, how have you found the grades on your vintage cards? Because today I have 4 different cards I'm going to show off, give you my brief thoughts, and of course, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, if you do enjoy this week's episode, I highly encourage you to make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Just Collect, to make sure that you're able to watch and be reminded about our new episode each and every week. So the 4 PSA cards that I have to show you are right here. We're going to start off with one that's from the pre-war time period, none other than one of the greatest hitters of all time, regardless of the time period. And that is former Boston Hall of Famer, Tris Speaker. For those that don't know this issue, this is the T205 gold border issue. A lot of people who are not in the hobby actually just refer to this as the gold border cards, and the T206 set as the white border cards. This particular example, as you can see, it's fairly well centered, which is really great because this issue does not always come well centered. If you take a look at just the corner wear, you're probably looking at between a 3 and a 4, probably closer to a 3. But then upon closer examination, as I bring it a little bit closer to the camera right there, you're going to see a spot of paper loss just to the side of his cap, and then you can see another couple spots of paper loss in the B and the red here, and a small spot of paper loss along the edge just to the left of the B. If you flip it over, so it's actually a very clean back, and I don't see, looking to see if this is a crease right here. So it looks like this might be some sort of either crease or indentation right there. But the main reason for the grade is a little bit of the corner wear, meaning if there was no paper loss, then it would not get probably above a grade of 3, 3.5. However, with the paper loss, I actually feel very fortunate to get a grade of 2, because usually if a card has paper loss on the back, you're looking about a 2. And to have it on the front and to have the same grade, I think the reason why this card got this grade of 2 is because if you look at the paper loss, even though it is on the front, it's relatively unobtrusive to his face itself, to the actual card, to the eye appeal. I mean, it's really got a great, vibrant red to it. And so my point is, if you're a collector out there and you're going to buy cards from this time period, keep in mind, cards 5, 6, and 7 are going to cost you $1,000 and up, and maybe not even be available. This is a wonderful way to acquire a good-looking card from the time period. And even though it does have a little bit of paper loss, as an overall eye appeal, I think that it doesn't get killed by that paper loss. And not only do I think the card's graded accurately, but if I didn't already have a T205 Tris Speaker in my collection, I would consider this example. But let me know your thoughts. Is paper loss a deal breaker for you on cards? And if you are willing to tolerate it, do you only tolerate it maybe on the backs of cards. Would love to hear your thoughts. All right, next up, one of the toughest Hall of Famers that are short printed from the 1950s, none other than the 1954 Bowman Ted Williams, was pulled early from production because of contractual issues and having a contract with Topps. So if you check out this example, which I recently sent to PSA, I believe on the regular service, in other words, this was not sent in bulk, whereas I think the Tris Speaker was sent in bulk. This card, at first glance, if you didn't look at the number, that's how I should have done it, it really looks like it could be a 4. Because if you look at the centering is pretty strong, it's got pretty good eye appeal. That pink down below here is pretty, vibrant. It doesn't have any really dull look to it. I don't see any obvious surface wear or creasing, maybe a smidge of print right there. If you flip it, that's the weakest corner right there, upper right. But the other corners are really indicative of VGX, maybe even a VGX to X card. So I was thinking this card could get a 4. And if you flip it over, there really isn't any indications of creases or wrinkles. So if you had to say to me, why do I think this card graded a 3? Well, first, because I tend to think that the grading is a little bit conservative on vintage premium cards from PSA. Just my 2 cents, at least of lately. It's been like that. And if you look at closely now, the upper right corner, really that's accelerated rounding. And kind of like you can see, it's almost like it's eroded. And so even though I don't think this would be out of place in a 3.5, maybe even a 4 holder, it certainly has a great look to it for a 3. And without putting it under the microscope here live during our trading card therapy episode, it's possible there could be some other surface wear on either side that I'm just missing at first glance. But I believe this to be a very strong example of a PSA graded VG3 card. But I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. Do you think it was graded accurately? Or do you also think that it might have been graded just a little bit, a little bit too stringent and the card wouldn't look out of place in a 3.5 or a 4 holder? Thanks for letting me know your thoughts. All right, the third of 4 cards that I wanted to show off is a Reggie Jackson rookie. Mr. October is featured here on his 1969 Topps card. And top to bottom centering is pretty good. Left to right, you can see, is a little bit off. It's a little bit fatter on the right side, meaning there's a little bit more room. If you flip it over, sometimes when this card starts to exhibit wear, you can see on the 4 corners, like with that pink, you'll start to see the white come through. So I like how you can see, this card looks like a true near mint card as far as the corners go. And just for full disclosure, I should have done this on this card as well. I'm going to do this on the next one. When I submitted this, I actually submitted this, I believe, to PSA on bulk grading because I thought it was going to 6. I thought I had outside chance at 7, but I wasn't sure. I thought I saw maybe a little bit of a rollover on one of the corners, and I'd rather have been upcharged than overpay and have my card put into a lower holder and be like, dang it, I knew it was in a grade X, and I also overpaid to do that. So in this case, I submitted it to PSA via the bulk service. Lo and behold, we did get a nice grade, and we did get upcharged. So this is kind of a moment to share what I believe is an important public service announcement, no pun intended here, that when you send in your cards to PSA for grading, if you are unsure of the value to declare the card at, if you end up declaring the value of the card lower than it actually ends up grading, does that hurt your ability to get a higher grade on that card when you send it to PSA for grading? Well, this is a perfect example where it doesn't seem to be the case. Meaning I submitted this 1969 Topps Reggie Jackson rookie on the PSA bulk grading service. And even though I was a little bit unsure of the grade, we got a nice grade on the card. We did get upcharged, and clearly it did not hurt our ability to get a higher grade, meaning getting a 7 on this card, because that's not what I was expecting, or certainly not for sure. Let me know what you think about this Reggie. Accurately graded, a smidge too high? Would love to hear your feedback. All right. Last card I'm going to show off that recently came back from grading. What I'm going to try to do is show you the card first and then the grade after. There we go. So I'm going to try to keep the grade off camera. Here's a very nice 58 Topps Mickey. So before I show you the PSA grade, I want to know, what do you think that this card recently graded with PSA? You can see relatively sharp corners. Really nice eye appeal, like a vibrant, fresh orange there. Maybe a tiny bit of, what we would call print snow in the brim of the cap right there. I'm going to flip it over so that you can see the back of the card. And it does appear to be pretty clean as well. I can see just a hint of corner wear right there. No real corner wear right there. Upper right and upper left seem to be very clean. So my question is, before I show it off, the final grade that is, what do you, the trading card therapy community, think that this fresh to market 1958 Topps Mickey Mantle recently graded with PSA? And by the way, what I mean by fresh to the market is that I bought this collection recently from someone who's had it in their family since 1958. So since the original year of issue. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to now zoom out and I'm going to show you. It graded a PSA 6. I thought when I submitted it, it would not look out of place, and certainly was hoping for a PSA 7. I didn't think PSA 8, but this card to me back 5 years ago would have been a lock PSA 7, meaning a little bit off-centered, but very sharp card overall, great eye appeal, and now I really don't know what they dinged it for. And here's a little request of PSA. I've talked about it on higher-end cards. I'll talk about it now, and if this is a higher-end card, I would even pay for it. Would you be willing to pay as a collector, as a dealer, as an investor on a card that in a 7 could be worth another $1,000, $1,500, $2,000? Would you pay $25 more to find out why? I might. In fact, right now, I might pay $50 because I'm very curious why this gorgeous, fresh to the hobby example of a 1958 Topps regular issue number 150 Mickey Mantle graded a PSA 6. Maybe the audience who's watching the show today here on YouTube can let me know, and you see something on the card that I'm missing. Would love to know your feedback. All right, so those are some of the cards I've got back recently that I thought would be fun to show off. Speaking of PSA, I want to take an additional moment to talk about them because they announced what I think is some very important news recently. And it's kind of a different type of grade reveal. And what does it mean for you, the collector, you, the hobbyist, you, the dealer, you, the investor? PSA just announced, after apparently it being in 3 years of research and development, they are coming out with a new standard issue holder. So to be clear, talking about like a 1969 Topps Reggie Jackson rookie, what they're saying is their regular issued, regular sized PSA card holder is now coming out with a new and improved version of that apparently is going to be a little bit sturdier. It's about 20% heavier. Apparently, it's much more secure, harder to, fake, reproduce, etc. So I have a couple questions on behalf of all of us. Number one, what if we get, because I'm sure this is going to happen to any and all of us who are watching, what if we want to crack out a card in this new holder? Is it more difficult? Is it not possible? Or is it not possible without damaging the card? Inquiring minds want to know. Number two, what if you've been collecting PSA cards for 10 years and you have dozens or hundreds or even thousands of PSA graded cards in your collection? What does it mean for your collection? Well, number one, PSA is likely going to tell you don't have to cross over or switch over those old holders to the new holders. A lot of collectors in all different disciplines, meaning in dolls and coins and stamps, a lot of OCD going around, if you haven't heard, yours truly included. I don't know if some people are going to want some of their collection in more secure holders, other parts of their collection in less secure holders. And of course, the next logical question is, if you want these cards in the new type holders, will you have to pay? I'm laughing because I believe I know the answer. Almost undoubtedly, certainly, yes, you will have to pay. PSA is a for-profit business. So how do you feel as a collector, as a dealer, as an investor, as someone that might be looking at a bill now to either re-encapsulate, re-slab, re-protect, whether it be just a portion of your prized PSA cards or just the whole kit and caboodle, the entire collection, whether it be dozens, hundreds, or thousands of cards. The news is too new for me to tell you what I would do, but I like to go with my gut, and I'll tell you what my gut tells me. If I was looking at a super duper huge large bill from PSA to simply put my cards into new holders that weigh a little bit more, yes, I understand they're secure, I would do it for a small portion of my most valuable and important cards. I would not spend thousands or tens of thousands of dollars re-encapsulating my graded 1968 Topps baseball set. I just wouldn't do it. If I had a Mantle 8, if I had a Ryan 8, if I had a Bench 8, I might do like the top 10 cards for that set. And even if I have to pay out of pocket, I wouldn't be thrilled to do so because, let's be honest, I like buying more cards with my money, not more re-encapsulation. Just how I feel. How do you feel? Let me know in the comments. I would love to know. That being said, before we move on, I think it's a great thing for the hobby that PSA is clearly invested in not just making the holder look better, but also in making it more secure. Speaking of PSA, now this one's a little bit, in my opinion, kooky. But kooky isn't always bad. PSA recently announced something they had never done before, which here at Vintage Breaks, I know I'm a big fan of when we're doing bonuses during our shows, which, by the way, we stream live 7 days a week on YouTube at youtube.com/vintagebreaks. So PSA recently asked Bobby Witt Jr. and Corbin Carroll, who are both card collectors, to put a handful of ungraded rookie cards of both players in their pockets while they are playing in a Major League Baseball game. You might be thinking, wait a minute, Leighton. They already sell the game-worn jerseys. Sometimes they cut them up. Are you telling me that these are game-worn cards? Uh-huh. Folks, that's right. We've got there. We are now approaching athletes and asking them to put cards near their buttocks while they slide around their situation. I don't know what's going on. Personally, I guess it's interesting. It's not for me. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Give PSA some credit. They did a limited number. They numbered them. Then Bobby Witt and Corbin Carroll added some cool inscriptions. Then they slabbed them up real fancy. Of course, the cards graded low because they were literally in the, the butt cheeks of, the pants of these guys as they're sliding. Who knows what's going on, right? So, no, they're not 9s, that's for sure. They're like 3s and 2s and 1s. But they have cool inscriptions. They were technically worn in a game. And I don't think I would pay for it. I think that it's a cool idea. And in order to try to find good ideas, you have to try to find lots of ideas to try generally to get to the best ones. So I credit them for that. Personally, it's not something that I would buy or be interested in for my collection, but I could see others being interested in it. And I thought that was really cool is clearly Corbin Carroll and Bobby Witt Jr. are collectors because of the 6 or 7 cards that they played with in the game, thus game-worn cards. They're keeping all of them except for 1 each. And PSA is going to give out both of those cards to the collecting community. And that, I think, is super cool. I'm curious what you think of PSA's new idea. Let me know in the comments. And I wanted to throw out there what my idea would be with these players, whether it be young or old. Because, some of the vets are not going to be around forever. Most certainly. Well, some of the young guys, you never know, right? Life is uncertain. That's the reality of it. I would love to see if you opened up a pack, for example, Bobby Witt, I forgot what year his Bowman is his rookie, like 2020 maybe. We open up a box or a pack with Bobby Witt Jr., and I pull a rookie or a parallel, and it's put into the PSA case, it's graded, and the provenance says, open live with Bobby Witt on that date. That is cool. That is provenance, and that is something I would pay for. PSA, I hope you're listening. We opened up a pack of 1970 Topps baseball, a cello pack with Pete Rose, a number of years ago at this point. Fantastic experience. Pete was a little rough with the cards, but we forgive you, Pete. Anyway, can you imagine pulling a Pete Rose or even a Willie Mays, which is from that series, and getting even if it's a 7 or an 8, getting it graded and saying it's from that Pete Rose break that we did in person and it's dated? I think people would pay for that. So PSA, I applaud you and I commend you for thinking out of the box. That idea may not be for me, but it might be for others in the trading card therapy community. So keep on trying, keep on trucking, and let me know what you think about my idea about player provenance breaks and seeing it on the PSA flip. The player you broke it with and the date. All right, last thing I'm going to cover today on trading card therapy is if you haven't heard, no, we're not talking about the GameStop, the stock, which is that movie, the whole thing. But GameStop's making some noise in the trading card space. They've recently announced that they're going to be offering cash and credit, store credit, for PSA graded and authenticated trading cards. Some of the rumors say it's only for trading cards, meaning TCG cards. Some people are saying, but it's on their IG page and it has sports cards in PSA holders. I have no idea. I have no inside information. And I've had some people ask me in the last couple of days, via text and DMs, hey, Lee, what do you think about this? You think it's going to hurt your business? No, I think the opposite. First of all, GameStop is in how many malls across this country? So let's just say it's 1,000. I'm making it up. You're telling me if it was all rolled out next week, that 1,000 more humongous retail outlets in the mall talking about, and even if they don't pay the most, but people are becoming more aware of trading cards and PSA grading, how that's not good for hobby awareness, more people understanding about the hobby, more people realizing, hey, this grading thing is kind of interesting. And even if they don't actually have cards to grade, they learn more about it. So I think that it's great for the hobby. And if they don't pay enough, believe me, companies like mine at Just Collect and justcollect.com, of course, where you can find us and our free appraisal forms on our website, and lots of other reputable dealers across the country will be there to show maybe why that GameStop offer isn't as good. So just like anything else in life, sometimes competition is good. And I think in this case, it is welcomed. It's going to be great for the hobby. It's going to lift up all of our boats across all the bodies of the hobby water. And with that, I'm going to leave you with a little sneak peek of next week's trading card therapy. You are not going to want to miss next week's trading card therapy episode. I recently had the good fortune to buy an incredible player collection from one of my favorite teams. That is all I'm going to say, but you are going to want to tune in next week to Trading Card Therapy. And with that, we are signing off. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you for checking us out. Thanks, everybody.